Hello everyone, hope you're doing well and welcome to the introduction of CSS. So we have completed the HTML5 course. So now we are going to start from the introduction of CSS. So if you didn't watch that video, the link is at the description. You can watch that complete course before jumping over to the main point. If you didn't subscribe my YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe this channel and hit the bell icon so you'll get the notification of my new video when I upload it. If you have any question, any suggestion, please leave a comment below. Alright, so let's get started. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. Is used to format the layout of a web page. With CSS, you can control the colors, the fonts, the size of a text, the space between elements, how elements are positioned and layout, what background image or background colors are to be used. Different displays for different devices and screen size. The word cascading means the style applied to a parent element will also apply to the child elements within the parents. So if you set the color of the body text to blue, all heading paragraphs and other text elements within the body will also get the same color unless you specify something else. CSS can be added to HTML documents in three ways. First, inline by using the style attribute inside HTML elements, internal by using the style elements in the head section, external by using the link element to link to an external CSS file. The most common way to add CSS is to keep the style an external. However, this is because if you want to add changes in one page, that changes will be added in all other pages at the same time, so you don't need to add changes in every different pages. First, let's talk about the inline CSS. An inline CSS is used to apply the unique style to a single HTML element. An inline CSS, the style attribute of an HTML element. The following example sets the background color. So this background color will just add it to this h1 tag. So the second topic is internal CSS. An internal CSS is used to define a style for a single HTML page. An internal CSS is defined the head section. As you can see, this is the head section here, and the internal style is going to be added using the style element inside this head section, not outside the head section, inside this head section. So an internal CSS is defined in the head section of an HTML page with the style elements. So as you can see, the following example sets the color of all h1 and p elements to the blue and red color. If you have another element with h1 and p, this design will be applied for them as well. So now let's talk about the external CSS. An external style sheet is used to define the style for many HTML pages. To use an external style sheet, you can use this link for your every single HTML page. That's it. The external style sheet can be written in any text editor. The file must not contain any HTML code and must be saved with a .css extension. So as you can see, this way our CSS sheet looks like. With style will be its name and .css is its extension. So in CSS sheet, we cannot add the HTML elements or tags. We just only use the CSS there. So now let's use this. So let's jump over to the code. So first, let's start from inline CSS. So let me create the h1 element, and here I'm going to type something. Heading. So for inline CSS, as we already used this in our previous video in HTML course, so for using the inline CSS, you can just write inside the element style attribute, and inside the double quotation you can add the style that you want to add in your every single HTML element. So for this, I'm going to add the color will be a red. Now let's save this and let's refresh the page. And as you can see, the text is changed and the color is applied to the h1 element. So this is called the inline. Internal CSS is used when you want to apply some changes inside the HTML page. So now let me test this as well. So this is simple paragraph. Let's save this. For using the internal CSS, you need to add the style element inside the opening head tag and closing head tag. Inside the head tag, you need to type the style attribute, not style attribute, style element, and remove all other attributes, default attributes. And here you're going to target the element that you want to add the style into it. So for now, I'm going to add the style into P element. So for this, I'm going to target the P element and opening and closing brackets, and inside these brackets I'm going to add the style that I want to add in P element. So for this, I'm going to add the color. So for adding the color into a text, I'm going to use the color with colon, and then I'm going to apply the color to add the color blue, and at the end make sure to add the semicolon. And let's add the border, or we can add the font family or font size. To increase the font size, we need to add font size, and here we can increase or decrease the size of our font element, or whatever element you want to increase the size. So for this, I'm going to save this, and now let's refresh the page. So as you can see, this is the paragraph that we have added the style inside this internal, using the internal CSS. So this is the use of internal CSS, but the disadvantage of internal CSS is that if you are creating a real world website and your website has many web pages, so you need to add this style into every single web page. So this is the disadvantage of using the internal CSS. You need to add, or you need to apply these changes into every single web page. But the using of external CSS, let me show you this. First, let's create another file here and let's save this. And if you want to use the external CSS, make sure to save the HTML file and your CSS file at the same folder. So let's name this style.css. If they are not inside the same folder, this will not work. And don't forget to add the .css extension. You can choose the name whatever you use for your style sheet, but don't forget to add the CSS extension. Now let's save this. So here we go, our CSS file is created. Now let's remove this internal CSS and let's save this. Now let's add the same changes into the CSS style sheet, the external CSS style sheet. So here I'm going to use the color for my, let's target the P element, and inside opening and closing brackets I'm going to use the color blue. Color value will be blue and the font size will be 60 as I used before. So now let's save this. If I refresh this, for now it will not work because I didn't link my CSS file with HTML. For making the connection between CSS and HTML, you need to use the link element. So for using the link element, make sure to use this inside the head element. Just write link and press enter. So the attribute real will be style sheet and href. Inside the href, we are going to write the name of our CSS file. So this will be a style.css. CSS. Don't forget to add the CSS extension. Let's save this. Now let's jump over to the file and let's refresh this. So as you can see, this works the same as the internal CSS that we have used. It's good to use the external CSS because if you want to add the changes into one element, these changes will be applied to the whole website or other web pages as well. This is the advantage of using the external CSS. So hope you understand. So the next we are going to talk about the comments in CSS. So CSS comments are not displayed in the browser, but they can help document your source code. The comments are used to explain the code and may help when you edit the source code at a later date. So you can add comments wherever you want in the code. The comments can also span multiple lines. There will be multiple comments and a single line comments. So now let's take a look how we can type the comments. We have inside the CSS file or style sheet. So you can add comment wherever you want. Like we learned in HTML, we use the Ctrl-Shift key by adding the comments. So let me add a comment here. What we can write inside the comment. So for adding the comment, you need to add double forward slash, and inside the forward slash you can add 2 stars here, and between these 2 stars you can write the comment for your code. So let me add, so this is, or we can say this will change the color of XT, like this. So the comment will give some information about the section of the code for if you come back after a long time to your code, and it will help you to read the code. We can also have the multiple line comments. So let me add the multiple line comments. You can also use the short key by press Ctrl and forward slash. Let me show you that here, or we can say here I'm going to, or you can say going to add some style. Like this, you can use the comment section for multiple line comments as well. So if we save this and let's run the web page, and as you can see, the browser is not going to display the that comment inside the web page. So that's it. So hope you understand in the comment section. So now we are going to talk about background in CSS. In background, we can add both colors and images. So first we are going to talk about add some color, then we will come back and add an image. So here first we're gonna add use the background color property. So by adding the color here, you can use the color type or using the simple text color, or you can use all type of colors like hexadecimal colors, RGB, RGBA colors, or hue saturation lightness color that we have learned in our previous videos HTML course. So here I'm going to just add text here, so it will be blue, or you can say light blue. Let's save this and let's refresh the page. So here you can see the background is covered by the light blue color. Here you can add both hexadecimal or RGB or RGBA colors. So now let's add a background image. So for adding the background image, you can use the background with slash and image here. And for adding image, you need to use this URL here, and inside the URL let me check choose an image here. So inside the images folder, I have an image with the name of img6 with a JPG extension. So I'm going to add here. First I'm going to target the folder images with /, and here I'm going to write the name of image g6.jpg. So let's save this and let's refresh the page. So as you can see, the background is covered with this image and it is come repeatedly with horizontally and vertically. So what we're going to do, we're going to tell the browser that don't repeat this image right now. It just adds one copy of this image in the background. So what we're going to do here we are going to say background, and as you can see there is a property with repeat. So we are going to enter this, and here you can choose the, if you want to repeat X direction, you can choose the X direction here. Let's save this and let's refresh. So as you can see, it will repeat only X direction. So if you want to repeat this Y direction, you need to add Y here, and so it will only display Y direction repeatedly. If you don't want to repeat this image, so you need to add no repeat here. So by using the no repeat value, this image is not going to be repeat again. They will only display the one single copy of the image on the background. And you can also specify the position of the image, in which direction of the web page you want to display the image. So as you can see, it is the top left corner. So now let's take this from the top left corner to the top right corner. For this, what we are going to do, we are going to add another attribute, which will be the background position, and here we're going to say right space, add space to and top, add the semicolon, and now let's jump over to the web page and let's refresh this. So as you can see, it's jump over to the right top corner. So another attribute that we have is the background attach attribute. So this attribute will allow us to whether the browser the image should scroll or not. So first let's check the image. Let's save this. Let's refresh this. So as you can see, there is a random text that I have added inside my web page, and when I scroll this, as you can see, the image is going to scroll, as you can see. And if I add here the fixed value and save this, and when I refresh the page, and this image is not going to scroll anymore. So another attribute that we have is a shortened attribute. The shortened attribute is used if you want to add all these values in one single line. You can use a shortened attribute. Now first you can use just background, and here you can add the color. So let's add background color light blue, add space, and here you can add URL for images /img6.jpg, and add space, no repeat, add space, right top, another space, fixed, and add semicolon at the end. Top, let's add this top here. So this will do the same thing. Now let's save this and let's check whether it works or not. And as you can see, it works perfectly. So this is another background attribute, which is called shortened attribute. You can add all your code in just one single line. So hope you understand. So the next I'm going to talk about borders in CSS. The CSS border properties allows you to specify the style, width, and the color of an element's border. By using the border attribute, we can specify the style for our element. So here you can see that there is a paragraph p element. So I'm going to add some style into this border style. So here I'm going to target the p element, and inside the p element I'm going to use the border attribute and border dash style. Here you can see, here is the style attribute, border style, and as you can see there is a tons of a list. So this will tell us that what kind of style you want to add to your elements border. So I'm going to use the dashed, the first one, and let's save this and let's jump over the page, and you can see this is called the dashed border style. So we're going to test other one as well. So the next we have dotted value. So when we click on this, and let's save this and let's refresh the page, as you can see border style changed to the dotted. So try to play with these values and select whatever value you prefer for your elements border. And now let's jump towards the second part, which will be the width of the border. And here you can see the width attribute, border width attribute. Here you can select the which kind of width you want to prefer, whether it's medium, thin, and inherent. So I'm going to select this with a pixel, so it will be 10 px, and add semicolon, and first let's add another border style, border style, and I'm going to use a solid one so it will clearly display on the screen. And as you can see, this border width is 10 pixels. So when we remove this 10 by 5 and let's save this, now let's refresh the page. So as you can see, it's display a little bit thin than before one. So this is the use of the border width. You can increase and decrease the width of the border using this border width attribute. So the next we have to use the color attribute for the border. So the border, here you can see the border width, the border color. So I'm going to use the light blue color, and let's save this. So as you can see, it is black right now. So when I refresh the page, and now it's changed to the light blue color. So here you can use the text color and every type of color you prefer, whether it's RGB, RGBA color, hexadecimal color, type color you prefer, you can use here. Another topic that we have is border side, whether it's left or right, top or bottom. So I'm going to use the left, and here you can specify what kind of style you want it. So I'm going to add dotted, and now let's refresh the page, and as you can see, our left corner is dotted, and here you can, instead of left, you can add right. Let's save this. Now let's refresh, and you can see it's right. If you add this onto the top, the top border will change to the dotted. And try to play with these values. And the next we have the border radius. So border radius is another attribute for changing the corner of the border. So now let me add 10 px here. You can specify with the pixels, and first, so as you can see these corners, and when I refresh the page, and you can see now the corners are changed to the round. So when I remove this from here, let's save this, and now let's refresh. So as you can see, these corners change to the round shape corner. So this is the use of border radius. And the last we have the shorten border attribute. Like we had in the background, shorten background property, here we also have the shorten for border. So you can specify everything by using the border in just one line that we have specified here with 4 lines, and here we can see, so we can say border 10 px solid, or we can say black. Save this. And now let's remove these three, and let's save this. And when we refresh the page, as you can see, the same changes added to the border. So this is the uses of the shortened border attribute. So hope you understand the uses of the border. So now I'm going to talk about the margin and padding in CSS. The CSS margin properties are used to create space around elements outside of any defined borders. With CSS, you have full control over the margins. There are properties for setting the margin for each side of an element: top, right, bottom, and left. So now let's take a look, show you that I have set this border. So as you can see, this is the border which covers the P paragraph, P element, and as you can see, the margin will call this space, as you can see, from the top and left corner. The margin is the space from outside this border. So this is the line of border, and this space and this place will call the margin. So now let's add. So for the top, right, left, and bottom, we have the specified property for margin. So for this, we are going to say margin. Here you can see margin left, margin right, top, and bottom. So first I'm going to set margin left. So margin left is going to be 50 pixel. Let's save this. Now let's check. As you can see, this is the margin that I have added to my element. So now let's add margin to the top, and the top will be 30 pixel. Let's save this. Let's refresh. Here you go. And now let's add to the left, to the right as well. Margin right. Let's add 50, and let's check how it looks. There we go. As you can see, so the margin is the space outside the border, and you can specify using their properties like left, right, top, and bottom. And don't forget that a margin also have the shortened property. Instead of using line by line, we can use this in just one line. For this, we are going to say margin. The first one that we're going to select is the top one. For the top, 25 pixel, and for the right, we're going to say 50 pixel. For the bottom, we're going to say 75 pixel, and for the left, we're going to say 100 pixel. So the first one is the top, the second one is the right side, the third one is the bottom, and the fourth one is the left corner. Now let's save this. Let's refresh the page, and as you can see, these are the changes that we have added right now. Let's add a copy of this. Copy and copy. Let's paste it here. Now let's refresh. As you can see, this is the 100 space that we have added to the bottom. Now when we change this from 100 to 50, let's save this. Now let's refresh. Well, that was the left corner. For the bottom is the third one. So I'm going to use this instead of 75, I'm going to use this 50. And as you can see, this is the uses of margin. So the next we have padding. So the padding is the same like a margin, but padding will cover the space inside the border. As you can see, inside the border, this space that we have, this will call the padding. So for this, we also have padding. Also have the 4 attributes like left, right, top, and bottom. So for this, let's set the padding. As you can see, left, right. So padding left will be 25 pixel. Let's save this, and let's refresh. As you can see, the space inside the border, and also we can see the padding left 25 pixel. Well, the left also has by default has the space. Now let's check this to the top. Padding top will be 25 as well. Here you go. And let's set the bottom. Here, as you can see. And also you can set this using one line, like a shortened property. Let's remove this, and now let's add a padding, and padding will be 25 pixel by the right one will be 70 pixel. The bottom is 25 as well, and the left one is going to be 50 pixel. Now let's save this and let's refresh the page. As you can see, the changes. So that's it. So now the time comes to talk about classes and IDs and their uses in CSS.
Class is an attribute, is often used to point to a class name in a style sheet. It can also be used by a JavaScript to access and manipulate element with a specific class name. So as you can see right here we have a div. So we already talked about div. Here we have div, and the class attribute, here it is, and class name is city. So you can see, so, and these are the elements inside the div class. By using this, so when we want to access using the CSS to these elements, we need to first access to the class, to this class, as you can see right here. So the class attribute can be used in any HTML elements. You can also use this class name for h1, h2 or p element and any other element you prefer and you want. And the class name is case sensitive. You can, if you use lower case and capital, and everything is same. So when you want to access to this class using the style sheet, first you need to add the dot character and then the class name and then curly braces right here. And inside the curly braces you can use the properties of CSS, the changes that you want to add to your class or your div, whatever you are using the class for. And when we jump over to the page, so this is the page that we have style right here. So you can use the class for a specific element you want, and you can access using the class by style sheet, and you can use the multiple classes for your single HTML element. You can have multiple classes, like let me check, see that city, and let's use the London. So if I add some changes, let me add some changes right here using, let me copy this and paste it here, London. So let me save this and let's refresh. So as you can see, because I have used this London in this single div, that's why changes added into first element, not the two other elements, as you can see right here. And this is the way of using the multiple classes. If you can also use the multiple classes for a single element. So let me Control Z this, save this. To define a multiple class, you can separate using the space, as I have added right here. And if you want to have multiple class name for a single div or single element, you can separate the class's name by using the space. And also you can use the multiple for multiple elements. You can just use the single class name, as you can see there. For 3 div element, I have used just one single class, so I can, so if I used one class name for all element, the changes that I add for one element will add it to all of them. So as you can see, if I use one class name for multiple elements, the changes that I added will add it to all elements that I'm using the class name for. Changes the class name here, and let's save this. And now what we're going to do, we are going to add this to Harris, and let's copy this again and paste it here. That's why because I want to use different classes for every single elements to show you what will happen. So let's use that. So black, color will white, and red, green. So that's it. Now let's refresh this. So as you can see, if I use multiple classes name for multiple elements, we can add for every element a different color or size or different font. For example, if you
The HTML attribute is used to specify a unique ID for an HTML element. You cannot have more than one element within the same ID in HTML document. The ID attribute specifies the unique ID for an HTML element. The value of the ID attribute must be unique within the HTML document. The ID attribute is used to point to a specific style declaration in the style sheet. It is also used by JavaScript to access and manipulate the element within the specific ID. The syntax for ID is write a hash character followed by the ID name. Then define the CSS property with the curly braces. As you can see, inside the curly braces, we are going to add any property that we want to add into your element. As you can see in this example, the h1 element that points to the ID name my heading or my header. This h1 element will be styled according to the hash character and the my header name. Style definition in the heading section. Remember, the ID name is case sensitive. The ID must contain at least one character, cannot start with a number, and must not have a white space or a tab. So now let's talk about the differences between ID and class. The class name can be used by multiple HTML elements, while an ID name must only be used by one HTML element within the page. If we jump over to the web page and let's check how it looks. So as you can see, so the ID is the same as the class, but the difference is that one class name can be used for multiple HTML elements, but the ID is a unique. We cannot add the same ID name for other HTML element with in the same page. And the ID can be used for a bookmark as well.
bookmark are used to allow a reader to jump to a specific part of a web page. Bookmark can be helpful if your page is very long. To use a bookmark, you must first create it and then add a link to it. For this, let me use first. Let's remove this and let's copy paste. All right. So let's copy everything from here. Control C and let's paste it here. So here inside the heading, I use the ID which is C4 with the name of C4. Let me save this ID with the name of C4, and at the end of this text, I used a link and call this C4 ID by using the hash character, and it will jump back to the first heading. Now let's save this and let's refresh. So this is the text, as you can see, and here you can see this is the link. So when I click the link, it will jump over to the first introduction to Java. So when I click here, as you can see, it will jump over to the first heading. See, it will jump to the first heading. This is the uses of ID. ID can be used for bookmark. First, use the attribute of ID and give it a name by C4, and at the end, you give it a link by using the A element that we have already talked about A element in our previous video, and inside the href attribute, use the hash character and the name of the ID. So that's it.
So the next we are going to talk about height and width in CSS. The CSS height and width properties are used to set the height and width of an element. The height and width properties do not include border, padding, or margin. It sets the height and width of the area inside the padding, border, and margin of the element. The height and width property may have the auto, length, percentage, initial, and inherit values. The auto is the default. The browser calculates the height and width. The length defines the height and width in pixels. The percentage defines the height and width in percent of the containing block. The initial sets the height and width to its default value, and the inherit will inherit it from the parent value. So now let's take an example and then we will back to the explanation. So for this, what we are going to do, we are going to cut this from here. And let's create a div here. And then we're going to paste this right here. Let's save this. And now let's remove this everything from here. And in CSS, the first we are going to target the div element. And for div element, what we are going to do, we are going to create a border. Border will be 1px solid green. And after the border, what we are going to do, we are going to add some padding. So this will be for the right, for the top. We are going to set 25 pixel as well. For the bottom, 25, 26, and for the right will be 25 as well. And now what we are going to do, we are going to set. First, let's take a look for this, and then we're going to come back for adding some more changes. So as you can see, this is the element, and as you can see, this is the padding that we have added here, and this is the border. So now what we are going to do, we are going to add some width and a height for this border. So for adding the width and the height, what we are going to do, we are going to say width, and here 500 pixel. And for height, we are going to set 300. Let's set this 300 pixel. Let's save this. Now let's refresh the page. First, let me re-zoom this. Make this 100. Alright, so that's it. So this is the border that we have set it. The width is 500 and the height is 300. And if we increase the width to 900, now let's check this. And here we go. The width size is increased. And we also can set the max width property.
So for this, we are going to first create a heading, max width. And after that, let's create a div, and the div will be, and let's create a class for div. So this will be example1, and this is let's add the text for it. So the text will be, this is with a simple width 500 px. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this. Let's copy this and paste it here, and let's say example 2, and this is max width 500. So let's save this. Now let's jump over to the div.exp1 example1, and the width should be 500 pixel, and margin auto border 3 pixel, solid this number. Alright, so that's it. Now let's copy this and paste it here. Just add this 2, and here instead of it we're going to use max width. And let's save this. Now let's, so as you can see here it is, and now let's add some space here using the BR element. Alright, so that's it. Now let's refresh this. Here we go. This is the that we have added. Now let's add some padding as well. So let's adding 5 pixel, and let's copy this and paste it here. Alright, so now let's refresh this. Here we go. This is a simple padding. The first element, as you can see, is a simple width with 500, and the second one is max width. So now let's check the differences between these two, max width and height. So as you can see, when I decrease the size of the window, as you can see, the max width is going to resize the width of the element, as you can see, and the first one is on its place. Let's see. As you can see, the max width will adjust the size of element with the size of a window screen. If you want to use the same thing, the same element, the same web page in your mobile phone, it will work a lot to adjust width of element with the mobile screen size. The first element, as you can see, is not resizing its width, but the second element, which is used by max width, is going to resize its width. So this is the uses of max width.
So that's it. Hope you enjoy. So our next topic is font and text in CSS. CSS has a lot of properties for formatting text: color, alignment, decoration, transform, space, and shadow. So we're going to talk about them one by one. So first, as you can see, which is the color. The CSS color property will add the color to the text, and the text align property will set the alignment for the text, whether it is left, right, or center. The text decoration will add some style to your text, which will be underline. You can also add a dot or whatever you want. And the text transform will be change the transformation of the text from lowercase to uppercase, or from uppercase to lowercase. And the letter spacing will add some space between the letters of the text. And the text shadow will add a shadow to the text, and the first 2 pixel will be horizontal, the second 2 pixel will be vertical, and the third 5 pixel is going to be the shadow, the size of the shadow that you want to add to your text, and the last one will be the color, the shadow color. So when we jump over to the text, as you can see inside the web page, this is the text that we add to the decoration. So as you can see, this one is the underline, which is called a text decoration. The space between these letters, as you can see, they are all upper cases. They have 2 pixel vertical and 2 pixel horizontal and 5 pixel shadow with the red color, and also it has a black color, and it is aligned at the center of the web page. So this is the text in CSS. The next, we have a font in CSS. Font selection is important. Choosing the right font has a huge impact on how the readers express the website. The right font can create a strong identity for your brand. Using the font that is easy to read, the font adds value to your text. It is also important to choose the correct color and text size for the font. So let's add some font style and font family to this paragraph. For this, we are going to use the font. First, we are going to use the font family, and here you can see here we have some font family styles. So I'm going to use this first one. So the next we have font size, which is really important, adding the size to your font. So here I'm going to choose the 30 pixel, and the next we have the font weight, which will make your font bolder, normal,
lighter or whatever style you want to add. So I'm going to add the bold here. And the next we have the font style, what style you want to add, whether it's should be normal, italic, and I'm going to use the normal. And the next, let's check what other we have. So now let's save this and let's jump over to the web page and let's refresh this. And as you can see, this is the CSS font property that we have. And let me zoom out this and you can see this properly now. So that's it. You can also add the font property into your paragraph.
So the another topic that we are going to cover in this course is display property.
Display property has three types of value that we are going to cover in this video. So which is inline, inline block, and block type value. So here I have created a simple paragraph here and add some text testing the display text inside the span. So I'm going to target this and add the style to show you the differences between inline block and inline block type value. So now let's target the span inside the CSS. And here what I'm going to do first, I'm going to add a background color. So the background color will be light blue. Light blue, yeah. And let's add, so here we go, the style is added. So now here I'm going to target the P paragraph and let's add the border block. Now let's refresh the page. So here we go, that the border is added. Now let's take a look for the display value property. So first I'm going to show you the display inline. So the display inline will don't respect the height and the width. The height or a width that is added on a CSS or a style section will not display on the screen. So let's check. So first I'm going to add the height. So the height will be 100 pixel. Now let's save this. And as you can see, when I refresh the page, the height is not going to be added in this specific part of the paragraph. So when I change this into from inline to inline block, so let's save this. Now let's refresh. So as you can see, the height and the width is going to be respected in the using the inline block value, but in inline value, the height and the width is not going to be respected. So now let's take a look for the block. So the block type value will break the line and jump over to the next line. So now let's refresh this. So as you can see, it respects the height and the width, but it will jump over to the next line as you can see on the screen. So these are the differences between the inline block and the block type value. So the inline value will not respect the height and the width. The inline block will respect the height and the width, and the block type value will break the line and jump over to the next.
So the another topic of CSS is position property.
The position property specifies the type of positioning method used for an element. There are 5 types of position property for elements, which is static, relative, fixed, absolute, and sticky. Elements are then positioned using the top, bottom, left, and right properties. However, these properties will not work unless the position property is set first. They also work differently depending on the position value. So first let's talk about the static position property. First let's see our web page. As you can see, this is our web page. This is the default. First let's check, did I add any position? Yes, static. First let's comment this and let's save this. So as you can see, this is the default position that browser set for your element in a web page. So the static position is the same. The HTML element are positioned static by default. Static positioned elements are not affected by the top, bottom, left, and right properties. So first, let's check this whether it add any changes or not. Top, left, let's add this, right, and let's add bottom as well. Now let's save this, let's check. See, nothing happened because by using the static position, top, left, right, bottom changes will never happen default position. So now let's clear this. An element with a position static is not positioned in any special way. It is always positioned according to the normal flow of the page. So hope it's clear for you. And now let's jump over to the another. An HTML with a position relative is positioned relative to its normal position. And the setting, the top, right, bottom, and left properties of the relative position elements will case to be adjusted away from its normal position. Other content will not be adjusted to fit into the gap left by the element. So now let's use the position relative. By using the position relative, you can adjust top, left, right, and bottom spaces. For example, let's add top will be 20 pixel, left will be 30 pixel, bottom 30 as well. Now let's save this. Now let's check. As you can see, the element position is changed. Now let's check. Let's add for left, let's add 130. It will clear for you, as you can see. So by using the position relative, you can add changes by using the top, left, bottom, right properties. So this is the use of relative position, and it's also the normal position for elements in HTML. The value is the fixed value. An element with position fixed is position relative to the viewport, which means it always stay in the same place even if the page is scrolled. The top, right, bottom, and left properties are used to position the element. Instead of relative, we use fixed position. The fixed position where the element will stay in its place even when we scroll down the page. As you can see, we are going to scroll down the page, but this element is fixed in its place. It's not going to move another place. So now so the changes that you can see here is the top, left, bottom can add changes into this element by using this fixed value. So now let's remove these changes. Let's save. Now let's check. So as you can see, the position property with the fixed value. When we scroll down, element with a fixed position fixed property will not going to be scrolled. It is fixed in its place. A fixed element does not leave a gap. As you can see, there is no gap. There is no free space around here in the page where it would normally have been located. And the next, we have absolute, position absolute. An element with the position absolute is positioned relative with the nearest positioned ancestor instead of the positioned relative to viewport like fixed. Let's add here an element. Let's add a div, abs div. Let's add a text here, or you can div. This div element has position relative. Now let's copy and paste it here. And now we can say position absolute. I'll save this. Now let's first refresh our page. As you can see there, let me add some, let's add some space. Here you go. As you can see, this is the first one is relative. I'm going to add some changes, position this relative, and the second one will be absolute. Now let's jump over here. Let's change this rel, and the second one will be abs. So first let's copy this, and now let's jump over to the, so first I'm going to add the border 2px solid black, and now let's add the position. So the first one, position, is relative, and padding 20 pixel. So that's it. Now let's see the changes. As you can see, this is element which position is relative. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy the second element, And let's add a border for this as well to px. Let's add a position absolute, and now let's add padding 20 pixel. Let's save this. Now let's check. So as you can see, the absolute position will change to be a relative by its near relative property. So hope you understand. And the next topic is sticky. An element with a position sticky is position based on the user scroll position. The sticky element toggles between relative and fixed depending on the scroll position. It is positioned relative until a given offset position is made to the viewport. Then it's sticky in the place, like position fixed. Yes, the sticky position is the combination of relative and fixed. It is same like the fixed position, but it's also the relative position, the combination of two position. So let's check. Let's remove this. And now the sticky position is the combination of relative and fixed position. So as you can see, when we scroll down, see this element is fixed in its place. But when we scroll up, as you can see, here we can see the position of the element takes the default position using the relative. As you can see, it's a normal position. So when we add some changes here, also specify at least one of the top, right, bottom, or left for sticky position to work. In here, I have added the top, just a top. A sticky element toggles between a relative and fixed depending on the scroll position. It is position relative until a give often position is made to the viewport. Then it sticks in a place like fixed position. So hope you understand.
So next we are going to learn about z-index in CSS.
The z-index property specifies the position of an element, and the z-index can work only with the position element like absolute, relative, fixed, and sticky. So now first let's create a heading h1 and let's add some text. Is a simple heading for testing the z index. Right, so after that we're going to add an image which is inside images. So the image name is nature1 dot. All right, so now we don't need the alt attribute. So now let's run this is the image and this is the header. So now let me create another image, excuse me, paragraph. So this should be displayed on the image. So, all right, so first let's check where it is going to be displayed. As you can see, it is displayed at the bottom side of the image. So now what I'm going to do, by using the the z index, I'm going to put this paragraph on the image. So now for this we are going to jump over to the CSS, and here what I'm going to do, I'm going to target the image element, and here I'm going to specify the position, and left will be 0 pixel, top will be 0 pixel as well, and after that z index -1. Now let's save this and let's refresh this. So as you can see, the paragraph come over the image. So by using the z-index, we can specify the position of an element. So now let's take a look for another example. So here I'm going to remove all of these, and here I'm going to create a div container container, and here I'm going to add 3 other child divs. So the first one is black dash box, and add some text box. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this and paste it 2 times. So the first one is black, the second one is gray, and the third one is green. Gray and green. Let's save this. All right, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump over to the CSS. Let's remove this one. So first I'm going to target the container class. Container. So first I'm going to specify the position and make the position relative, and after that first I'm going to specify the black box. So dash box. Let me check the class name. All right, let's specify the position. So position will be relative, and the z index 1, border 2px, solid black, height 100 pixel, and margin will be 30 pixel. So this is the first one. Now let's jump over to the second one. So the second one will be not black, gray dash box. So let's specify the position will be absolute, and the z index is 3, and the border light gray, and the height will be 60 pixel. So the width will be 70%, semicolon, and left is 50 pixel, and top is 50 pixel as well. And after that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to green dash box. So the green box position absolute, z index 2, the background will be light green, and the width is 35%. The left will be 270 pixel. Top -15. And height is 100 pixel. All right, so that's it. Everything is good to go. Now here I'm going to show you the uses of the. So now let's refresh this. So as you can see, these are 3 boxes. So what I'm going to do, first I'm going to remove the z index from here. So first let's check. As you can see, everything is on its specific, or everything is on its correct places. So now let's remove the z index and let's refresh the page and check how it looks. Save this and let's refresh. As you can see, the third, which is green box, is over the gray box. So as you can see, if 2 positioned elements overlap each other without a z index specified, the element defined last in HTML code will be shown on the top. So as you can see here in HTML code, the green box is the last element of HTML, and as you can see here without z index, the last element is on the top of first and second element. So this is the uses of the z index. The z index will position correctly each element on its place. So if we put the z index on the last element, let's check how it looks. Let's z index 2, and let's add z index for the all of them, 3 and for black we have the index 1. Let's save this. Now let's refresh. As you can see, the last element, which is green, positioned at the last, and the first and the second element is in front of the last element. So this is the uses of the z index. So the next we have overflow. So the overflow property specifies whether to the clip content or add a scroll bar when the content of the element is too big. So there are 4 types of value of overflow property. So one is the visible and the hidden, scroll, and auto. So we are going to talk about this step by step. And remember, the main point is that overflow property only works for block element with a specified height. So now let's check an example. So here first I'm going to create a div, and I'm going to name it overflow test. Overflow test, and inside this div I'm going to add this random text. And before adding the div, I'm going to first add the heading 2, and let's add some text. So CSS flow overflow, and after this I'm going to add a paragraph explanation of the overflow. The overflow property controls what happens to content that is too big to fit into the area. So as you can see, I've created this div element with a class overflow test, and this is the text I've added. So now let's save this, and now let me open the browser and let's check. So as you can see, this is the simple text. This is the heading 2, paragraph, and the div element. So now let's add some CSS. So for CSS, I'm going to jump over to the style class. So I'm going to target the overflow test class, and here I'm going to add a background. Background will be, and the color of a text should be white, and the padding 15 pixel, width 50%, height 100 pixel, and overflow. So now this is the overflow. So the overflow will be scroll. So we are going to talk about others at the moment. So border 1px solid, this color. Now let's save this, and now let's jump over to the browser and let's refresh this page. So as you can see, this is the design that we have added the scroll ball, and as you can see, this is the use of the scroll ball. For fixing a text in a specific place, we are going to use the overflow. So now here we have used the overflow scroll. Now let's use the overflow hidden property, and let's refresh this. As you can see, some of the text is displayed, but the remaining text is not displaying because they are hidden. Scroll bar is hidden, so that's why the remaining text is not displaying for the user. So when we use the visible, so overflow visible, and now let's refresh this, is the same but with a little bit differences. So the text is out of the specific place. So as you can see, there is a text, as you can see right here. The text is out of the specific element, or you can say the specific place, by using the overflow visible. So if we use the auto will add a scroll bar whether if it was needed. So now so as you can see, here we need the scroll bar, so that's why it added a scroll bar. So let me remove some text from here, and let's remove some text from this part. Let's save this. Now let's refresh. It still have a text. So now let me remove some of them. Let's save this, and now let's refresh. So as you can see, the scroll bar is not needed for now, so that's why That's the uses of the auto value and the overflow property. If the scroll bar was needed, if the text was too big in the element, by using the auto value, it will add the scroll bars automatically. So hope it's understand for you. Let me control set the text again. So now let's save this. So hope you understand the uses of the visible, which will hide the text from the user, but it is out of the range and out of the specific element, as you can see. But when we use the hidden property, hidden value, the text is going to be hide from the user, and also the visible, no, not visible, scroll bar. By using the scroll value, it will add the scroll for the element whether it's needed or not. So hope you understand.
So the next topic we are going to cover the combinators in CSS. So the CSS combinator is something that explains the relationship between the selectors. A CSS combinator can contain more than one simple selector. Between the simple selectors, we can include a combinator. There are 4 types of combinators in CSS. The first one is descendant selector, the second one is child selector, adjacent selector, and general selector. So first we are going to talk about the descendant selector. The descendant selector matches all elements that are descendant of a specified element. So first let's work on the descendant selector. So let's remove this from here, and we're going to descendant selector. And here we're going to alright, so let's save this, and alright, so now let's jump over to the CSS, and here we're going to target the div element and target the p element. So this is called the descendant selector. The descendant selector, it means that when you want to select an element which is inside another element, this means that if you want to select all p element which is inside the div element, so if you want to select all p elements which are inside the div element, you can use simply add a space which is called descendant selector. So let's check. So here let me add a background for them, background color yellow. Let's save this. Let's refresh the page. As you can see, so the paragraph 1 in div and paragraph 2. So let me show you in HTML code. So as you can see, paragraph 1 and paragraph 2, and also the 5th and 6th paragraph is also, they're all inside the div element, because we select here that we first select the div element, and we said that inside the div element we need all paragraph element to change their background color into yellow. So this is called the descent selector. So the descent selector, you can just add space between 2 elements. So the next we have child selector. The child selector selects all elements that are the children of the specified element. For example, if we add a class here, let's add a class, and here we're going to say child, and now let's, instead of div element, we're going to add say child, and let's save this. And after the class name or whatever element you select, we're going to add the child selector here, and after that we are going to add the element, and then we are going to select the element that we want to add the changes in it. So now let's save this and let's refresh the page, and as you can see, only the first and second paragraph is selected, because here we have used the class name, and then we said only select the elements that are inside this child class. So if we add another paragraph here, so let's add p, and we're going to copy this from here and paste it here, So this one is also second. Now let's save this and let's refresh. So as you can see, so this is called the child select. So as you can see, this div is a parent element, and these paragraphs of a div element is called child elements of the div element. So the third one we have the adjacent sibling selector. The adjacent sibling selector is used to select an element that is directly after another specific element. Sibling elements must have the same parent element, and adjacent means immediately following. For this, for using the adjacent sibling selector, we are going to use the plus sign. And let's save this and let's refresh the page. As you can see, so this means that after parent class, after selected element, target the first element. It means that if we remove this class name from here, and let's save this and let's add the div element here. Save this. So as you can see, this one is selected as well because the seventh paragraph is also directly after the div element. So this means that it will tell the browser that target the element which is directly after the selected element. So hope it's understandable for you. So the next, which is the last one, is the general sibling selector. So this selector selects all elements that are next siblings of the specified element. So for using this, we can use telecharacter here. So let's save this and now let's refresh the page. As you can see, so this means that select all elements after the selected elements. So it will tell the browser that select all elements which are directly after the selected element which is div element. So the general sibling selector will tell the browser that select all p elements which are directly after the div element. Here you can see. So hope you understand. So now the time comes to talk about Pseudo classes and elements. The Pseudo classes are used to define a special state of an element. For example, style an element when the user mouse over it, style visited and unvisited links differently, and style an element when it gets focused. So now we have created here a link which is google.com link, and let me target this at the target blank page. Here you can see this is the link, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some different Pseudo classes for them to show you how we can add changes to this link. So when I refresh the page, this is how our link looks like. So let me zoom in this so that it will be, so as you can see, it is like a dark gray color for now. And if you want to change the color, you can use the Pseudo class as well to target the A element. So first, an element that you want to target, so target the element, then colon, and just use the Pseudo class that I'm going to use is a link for only the link elements. So here I'm going to use a different type of color. So this color will be this type color. So this class is used for unvisited link. So this link is used for unvisited link, this Pseudo class, and let's use another Pseudo class which will be the visited. So this Pseudo class is used for visited link, and let's add the color for this as well, and this one will be, so when I save this and let's refresh the page, so as you can see the color of the link is changed. So the next we have a hover is also a Pseudo class. So this
one can be used for when the mouse over link. So when we over the mouse to the link, so let's add the color for this as well. Now let's save this and let's refresh. So now as you can see, when we over the mouse, the color is not going to change. So when we refresh the page, and now when we hover the cursor, and let's check how it looks. See, the color is going to change to a pink type color. And the fourth one, excuse me, is the active link. So this link is used for selected link. When we select a link, how it looks. Here we can change the color of the selected link. So hope you understand. And not only for adding some changes to a link, we also can add changes to a paragraph. So as you can see here, I've write a paragraph here, add the div and add a text inside the div, and inside the div I have a paragraph, simple text here. And here you can see this is the div, and inside the div we have this simple text. I'm going to add some animation into this. When I hover the cursor to this div element, this text will be pop-ups. So for this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump over to the CSS, and inside the CSS I'm going to first target the P element. So this one will be display none. So I'm going to hide that P element inside the div. So the background color will be yellow, and add some padding. Padding will be 20 pixels. So that's it for P element. So now I'm going to target the div element and hover. So when I hover the cursor, and what will happen to the P element? So it will be display block. So it will be pop-ups. Now let's refresh the page. So as you can see, the text is hidden. So when I hover the mouse, when I hover the cursor to the P element, what will happen? As you can see, the text, the paragraph is pop-ups. Here we go. So by using the Pseudo class, you can also target the first child of any element. So here I've add some more text here. Here you can see two paragraphs here, first child and second child, and paragraphs inside this element as well. So for this, let me save this. And now for this, what we're going to do, we're going to first target the element that we want to target its first child. So it will be P element and colon, and then we are going to target add the first child Pseudo class, and here we are going to change the color of the child. Let's save this, and now let's refresh the page. As you can see on the screen, this is the first child of the two element, and this one is the first child of this div element. There we go. So we can also target the last child of any element. So for this, what we are going to do, we are going to instead of first child, we can use the last child here. And let's save this. Now let's refresh the page. And as you can see, the fourth one is the last child of the div element. So hope you understand. And now let's jump over to the Pseudo elements. So we also have the Pseudo elements, like we have the Pseudo classes. So the Pseudo element is used to style specified parts of any element. Like we can add the style to the first letter or a line of an element. We can insert content before or after the content of any element. We can use this. It's the same like the Pseudo class. We can target the element like the, for example, here we have the, let me refresh the page. This is the simple text we have, simple paragraphs. And let's jump over to the HTML,
and here we go. Here it is. Adding the Pseudo element is the same like adding the Pseudo class. We can target first. We need to target the element. Here we can use the first line. First, target the element, then use the double colon, and then use the Pseudo element here. And here you can add the color for this. Color. And let's add the font size will be 60 pixels. Now let's save this, and as you can see, all text is normal. And when we refresh the page, as you can see, the first line size is increased. Now let me remove the font size and let's save this so that it will be clearly look for you. The first line, as you can see, is the color is changed. We can also use the first letter for this. You can use the, instead of class, we can use letter, so that the first letter will be, as you can see, the first letter of all paragraph is changed to the red color. And we can also increase the size of the first letter. So let's add the font size, and I'm going to add XX and large, and let's check this how it looks. Here you can see. So this is the uses of Pseudo elements. We can do some more stuff with the Pseudo elements, like we can target the class and then we add some changes into it. We can use the before and after. Let me show you here. So first let's target the P element and then use the after, or let's use first the before, and then let's use the, instead of content, inside the before content, inside the double quotation, use this is before Pseudo element. Let's save this, and now let's refresh the page. Here you can see the before will come at the beginning of the paragraph or every other element. So you can see this is the before, it comes at the beginning of, this is the first child of a div. You can see this paragraph starts from this here, from this section, and this is the before text that I have added. This is the before Pseudo element, and this is the first child of the div. And we can also use, instead of before, we can also use after, so that adds some changes to your element. Let's refresh the page. As you can see, this is the first child of the div, and this is the before Pseudo, and here we can use the after Pseudo class. Let's refresh, and here you can see. And we can also use the selection Pseudo element. Let's use this selection, and first don't target any paragraph, any element, just use the double colon and then add the selection element, Pseudo element, and add, let's add the color. Color will be red, and the background color will be yellow. Let's save this. So what will happen when we refresh the page? When we double click on any text, on any word, it will highlight it for the user. So when we double click, as you can see, it's going to be highlighted. Here you can see it is highlight. Here it is. Here you can see. So this is the use of selection Pseudo element. So that's it. Hope you understand. As we have learned a lot until this point, now we are going to create a project which is responsive drop down menu with only CSS. So now we are going to create this responsive drop down menu with only CSS. We are not going to add any JavaScript. We are going to use just the topics that we have learned until this point. So let's get started. So as you can see, this is our HTML page and this is the empty CSS that we are going to work on them right now. First we are going to create the not here, inside the body we are going to create the navigation element, and inside the navigation element we are going to create a div element. These are the topics that we have already studied in this. These are the topics that we have already talked about in this tutorial. So after ID we are going to create a class, and the class name will be toggle, and inside this div element what I'm going to do, so here I'm going to add the menu, and let's add another. In fact, let's change this to drop, and this one will be the logo, and ID. Okay, and now let's size it, and here we're going to add our logo. So our logo will be with Rohani, my YouTube channel name. So after this, what I'm going to remove this from now, and I'm going to add this in a label. So therefore will be drop, and the class is toggle, and this is the menu. And after this we're going to add an input, and the text will be checkbox, and instead of value attribute and name attribute I'm going to use the ID attribute. Alright, so after this I'm going to create the UL element. So for UL I'm going to add a class name menu, and inside the UL I have a li, and inside li I have a element, and between the opening and closing a element I'm going to add the menu. And after this I'm going to create another li, and inside these li I'm going to use another label with a label input and a link. This one will be the drop down menu. So here I'm going to add a comment. So this one will be first drop down menu. So here I'm going to, so let's create a label. So let's add the for will be drop -1, and after this I'm going to add the class as well. Class name will be toggle and press. So here we go. Now after this I'm going to create a element, and let's add WordPress here, and after this let's create an input. So the text will be the checkbox, and let's remove the name and value attribute, and inside of these attributes I'm going to use the ID attribute. So ID will be drop -1, and after this I'm going to create another UL, and inside UL I have li. So this one will be the inside the drop down menu. So when we hover, as you can see, let me jump over. So as you can see, this is a drop down menu. When I hover the cursor, these menus are pop-ups. So we're going to work on this section for now, and inside the A element we're going to create the inside the li element I'm going to create the A element, and themes and stuff. So I'm going to copy paste this for saving time, and the second one will be the plugins and tutorials. So after this ul and li, I'm going to create another li. So this one will be the first of the second drop down menu. First of the second menu. Here you can see our second drop down menu has another drop down menu inside. So this is the second drop down menu, and inside the second drop down menu we have another drop down menu. So what I'm going to create now, I'm going to work on the first one on this web design section. So inside this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another label. So the label will be for drop-2, and let's create class. Class will be toggle, and here we go to say web design. So after this, I'm going to create a element, and after this I'm going to create an input. So this one will be checkbox again, and let's remove these two, and let's add id attribute drop-2. So now inside these, so now we are going to create a ul, and inside ul we have li, and inside li we have a. So this one will be resources, and let's copy this from here and paste. So instead of resources we have links. So now inside this ul, I'm going to create this second section, this second drop down menu. So inside this ul, I'm going to create this. So inside this ul, I am going to create another li, and inside this li, I'm going to add this the second of the second drop menu. Hope you can understand this. So now again I'm going to create, instead of creating this step by step, I'm going to copy this from here and paste it here, and instead of drop down 2 I'm going to use 3, and the toggle is the same, and instead of this web I'm going to write tutorials, add the plus sign here, and again let's add the tutorials here, and this one will be 3 as well. So hope you understand to this. To this point. And after this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another ul, this sections. So this, as you can see, graphic design, inspiration, contact, and about us. So I'm going to create these sections now. Before creating this, I'm going to create this HTML, CSS, jQuery, and other stuffs. So for this, I'm going to create another ul and li. So So this one will be HTML and CSS. Let's copy this. So the second one is jQuery, and the last one is other. So after the UL and LI closing tag, I'm going to create another U. Let me, where did this opens? Here we go. And where does this one open? So let's remove this from here, and let's add this one right here. Here we go. So after this, I'm going to create another. So here I'm going to create another li, and let's add a, and this one will be graphic design, and let's copy this. And let's paste it to 4. So our HTML section is done. At the end, I'm going to add two paragraphs with some text, and this one is a So this is a little bit information for someone who use this course. So I'm going to put the link at the description, so you can use this code for your website, for your web page, for whatever you use this, or you can also use this for practice. So if you don't know what I have done here, you can watch our HTML and CSS course. The link is in the description. And now our HTML section is done. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just refresh this page, and this is our HTML section without CSS. So now we are going to jump over to the CSS section and try to complete our CSS section as well. So now let's jump over to the CSS. So first I'm going to target the body element, and let's add a background. I want to use this background, and let's use the font size. The font size will be 22 pixel. Line height, I'm going to use this one will be 32 pixel, and let's use the color. The text, the color will be the text color. And let's add margin 0 and padding 0. It will remove this default margin and padding. You can see right here this default margin. And now what we are going to do, now I'm going to add the font family. So the font family will be or you can use the default font family if you want. So now I'm going to target the A element. So I'm going to just add the color for the text, and after this I'm going to target the P element. So let's text align, use the text align property to be center. So after doing this, let's target the toggle class, and if you don't understand this section, no problem, because we didn't learn about this in our tutorial. You can just copy paste this. We will learn about this in our future tutorial. So display none. For first time, it will remove all these drop down menus. And now let's add remove some margin padding from our navigation bar and add the background color. Now remove the default margin, will be 0, and padding will be 0 as well, and let's add the background color. So the background color will be this type color. And now let's target the logo ID. Alright, so now let's target the logo element, logo ID. So first we are going to add the display block here, and after this we are going to add the padding 0 by 30 pixel, and let's add float left. Let's add float left, and font size will be 20 pixel. So these are all the attributes and topics that we have learned in our previous videos. So if you still didn't understand any one of them, please leave the comment below and tell me what attribute or what section of this video is new for you. So now, as I'm going to use the float left for UL, I'm going to clear the after our container, which is the navigation bar. So let's use the after the Pseudo class, and let's add content. Let's clear the after our container, which is the navigation bar, and let's use the display table, and let's clear both attribute. This is also another attribute. And now we are going to use the target the navigation bar. Inside the navigation bar, we are going to target the UL element. So let's add the float right, and padding. Let's add the let's remove the default padding and margin, and let's add list style will be none. So we are going to remove the style, and position will be a relative. So first let's save this, and now let's jump over to the web page and let's refresh this. So as you can see, this is our web page. It looks like this for now, and we need to do a lot of more stuff to make this responsive and looks nice. So for this, let's jump over again to the CSS and let's add. So let's target the navigation, nav, UL, and li. So let's add margin 0 pixel, and display will be inline block, and let's float left, and let's add the background color. So this is the background color for this color. Alright, so after this we are going to target the all A elements which are inside the navigation bar. So we are going to display them block and display excuse me, the padding 40 pixel by 20 pixel, and let's add the color will be white, and font size will be 40 pixel, and let's remove this text decoration, that underline you can see. So text decoration will be none. Now let's save this and let's refresh the page, and here you can see this is the padding. We have added padding, change the font size and remove this underline by using the text decoration none. So after this we are going to target the navigation bar. Inside navigation bar we have UL, LI, another UL and LI. So when we hover the cursor to them, what will happen? The background color should be changed to the black color. There we go. So now let's save this, and for now when we hover nothing happens. So when we refresh the page, and here you can see when you hover the cursor the background color changes to the black color. And now let's add some more things here. So inside the navigation bar we are going to target all A elements. When we hover, the background color of these will be changed as well. Let's save this. Now again let's refresh the page. As you can see, target nav again UL and UL, so it will display none. So we are going to hide all that drop down menus for now, and position will be absolute, and top margin will be 60 pixel. Let's save this. Let's check whether it works or not. As you can see, all the drop down menus are hidden for now, and we are going to target the navigation UL and LI. When we hover, it will select the first child of UL. It will be display inherit, and now let's add the width and the height for UL and LI, and let's add the width, not warning, width will be 170 pixel, float will be none, display list item and position will be relative, nav UL again and LI, and here we're going to add the position relative, and the top will be minus 60 pixel. So by using the minus 60 pixel to the top, it will be go to the top side, to the top, and let's lift one will be 170 pixel. Now let's save this and let's refresh. Alright, so as you can see, when we hover the cursor, it comes down right here. As you can see, for now we need to add this plus sign, and we need to make this a little bit awesome, and we're going to target the LI, all LI, and the child of LI, which is A, and select the after Pseudo class, and inside this we're going to create all after, and add this plus sign, and we are going to target li again and the child of li and only child after content, clear the content. So that's it. Let's save this and let's refresh. So that's it. As you can see, we have added these plus signs here and here. So now we need to make this responsive so that it will work for the small devices. As you can see, its screen smaller, it looks not good. So we need to make this to looks, we need to add some, so we need to make this to work in a small devices as well. So for changing an element to be responsive, we need to use the media query. So media query is used for change an element to responsive so that it will adjust itself, adjust the element to the small devices as well. And inside this we're going to use a max width. The max width will be 168 pixel, and inside this we're going to first target the logo, and inside the logo we're going to say display block, and the padding will be 0 pixel, width will be 100%, and text align will be center, float will be none. So after this we're going to use the container, which is navigation bar, and let's remove the default margin. And after this we're going to target the toggle and add the plus a and dot menu. So this one will be display none as well. And now let's target the toggle class again and display block. Background color will be this type color, and let's add some padding, 40 pixel by 20 pixel, and color will be white color. Font size is going to be 70 pixel, and let's remove the text decoration to none, and let's remove the border none. Alright, so that's it. So now we are going to work on the hover, so that when we hover to the toggle class element, toggle hover, and here we're going to add the background color. So the background color will be black, and after this we're going to use ID if you don't understand what is the use of this, so you can just copy paste this because we didn't learn about this yet. So let's display block. Now let's target the UL and LI. Let's add display block, and width will be it will be 100%. And let's target the navigation bar, nav ul dot toggle, comma, let's nav ul a. So here we're going to remove the top padding and add 40 pixels. Nav u. So here we're going to add the padding again, 0 by 80 pixels. So after this one, we are going to add some over effect again. So nav a element hover. So when we hover the cursor to the a element and nav ul and a, the background color will be black. And after this, let's scroll down this. Let's target u nav ul li. After this, let's target the toggle class and let's add comma and let's jump over to the next line, navigation bar ul and a. Let's jump over to the next line again, ul and a. Now let's add the padding, 14 pixel by 20 pixel, and let's add the color, the text color, this one, and the font size will be 70 pixels. And now let's target again the toggle class. So navigation bar ul and li. Let's target the toggle class again, ul. So these are all the stuff, these are all the things that we have learned in our HTML and CSS course at this moment. Here we go. Hope you understand at this moment, and if you don't, please leave a comment below and tell me which part of this code you didn't understand. So here we're going to add some more things to equal hide drop down by default. So let's add and let's float this none and position will be static, and let's add a color. So this one will be to hide menu on hover. So now let's target the navigation bar ul li and hover, and let's select the first tile ul and nav li hover explainer. So this one will be for the first drop down. So now let's target this again. So we are almost done. Just few more line of code are remaining. And let's position this static. We just need to add some more. Let's add again a media query, all, and we're going to adjust this max width. So this one will be for 520 pixel. Alright, now ULLI. And this use the display block, and width will be 94%. So that's it. Everything is done. Now let's save this and let's refresh the page. So as you can see, everything is good to go. You can see the drop down menu. Now when we resize the page, as you can see, this is the menu. When we resize the page, it will looks like this. When we click on this, here we go. As you can see, our responsive section is done again as well. Here you go. So that's it, guys. Hope you understand. If you have any question, any suggestion, please leave the comment below. If you didn't understand, please ask me any question, any parts of the code you didn't understand. So the next project that we are going to create in this course is responsive image gallery. For creating the image gallery, we are going to just use the HTML and CSS. We are going to just follow the tutorials, the topics that we have learned until this point. For this, first we are going to create the div element and add the class for this, which will be the gallery. And inside the div element, I'm going to create an A element. And let's add the target attribute. The target attribute will use to jump over to the next tab. So when we click on the image, it will open into the next tab. And inside the A element, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the image element. So the image element, and here I am going to show you the images that I'm going to add here. So inside the images folder, I have another folder which is big, and I'm going to use these 4 images. Pick 1, pick 2, pick 4. So here I'm going to target first the images folder, and inside images we have a big folder, and inside the big folder we have pick 1 image which is JPG. So the width, which will be 600, and the height attribute, which will be 400, and that's it. So after this, I'm going from outside the A element, I'm going to create another class which will be the description of the image. So here I'm going to add some information about that image. This is simple image for simple image of image gallery. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this from here, copy this, and let's paste it 3 more times. So 2, 3, and 4. And now I'm going to change the images. So let's say this one is 2, this one is 3, and this one is 4. Now let's save this and let's check how it looks. Let's refresh the page. So these are the images that I'm going to use in this image gallery. So for now, let's jump over to the empty CSS file, and here we're going to add the CSS code. So first we are going to target the gallery
gallery class, and here I'm going to add margin 5 pixel, border 1px, solid this color, and float left, and width will be 180 px. And after this we are going to use the hover effect to this gallery. So when the user hover, what will happen? So the border should be changed to the dark color, solid, this is a little bit dark color. And after this I'm going to target the images element. So inside the gallery I have element which is image, and let's adjust the width and the height of the element. Width will be 100% and the height is going to be atom. And after this I'm going to target the description class, and let's add some padding which will be 50 pixel, and text align to the center. Now let's save this and let's refresh the page and check. Let's see how it looks. As you can see, this is the image gallery that we have created right now. So when we hover the cursor to this image, as you can see, the border changed to the dark color. So when I click on this, it is going to be open. As you can see, when I click on this, it open all of these images inside the new tab. So for this, what I'm going to do, inside the image, inside the HTML, inside the href attribute, so as you can see, inside the gallery class I have an element which is a, and inside the href attribute, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this and let's paste it here, and let's save this and let's check whether it works or not. So when we click on this, as you can see, it will open that image in a new tab. So now what we are going to do, we are going to copy all of this and let's paste this inside the href attribute. Let's copy this and let's save this. Let's copy this from here as well and let's paste it here. Now let's save this. Now let's check. So as you can see, when we click on this second image, so when we click on the second image, it will display all images into a new tab. But when we refresh the page and when we click now, it will only display the image in a new tab that we have click on it. So that's it. Hope you understand. And the third project that I'm going to create in this course is the responsive form using only CSS. So for creating our form, we are going to use just the topics that we have learned until this point. A form is used for adding some information or for registration in a new website when we visit, like a Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. When you want to create an account, you need to add your information there in a form. This is why the form is very important in website. If you want to collect the information from user, first we are going to create a h2 element. So that will be responsive form. And after this, we are going to create a p element, and here I'm going to add some text. So this is a little bit information for showing the responsive form to the user. So after this, we are going to create a div element, and let's add the name to the class, which will be the container.
And inside this container we are going to create a form. Excuse me, not this one, form. So for now what we are going to do, we are going to just we are not going to add any attribute, we are not going to use any attribute for now. We're going to remove this, and inside the form I'm going to create another div which will be a row and column. So div row, and let's create another element div. This one will be column 25. So for now let me add a label as well. So label will be for f name. So name, first name. So that's it. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same thing for first, or you can say for last name as well. So now outside the closing column div, I'm going to create another column. So let me create div column 75, and here I'm going to create an input. So this input type will be text, and instead so name will be f, first name, and I'm not going to add any value, and instead of value I'm going to add a placeholder attribute, your name. This will be a little bit information for the user to input his or her name. And after that I'm going to add, or let me add an ID at the beginning. So ID will be f name. So that's it. After this what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy these all. Let's copy this and paste it right here. So this will be a raw, and instead of the f name I'm going to use the last name, which will be the L name. And let's add last name. This one is the same as well. Let's change this to last name. This one should be last name as well, last name, and the user your last name. And that's it for the last name. And now we're going to add another row. So here we have created another div which is row, and another inside the row class we have another class which is column, and here we have create a combo box. So when the user click on the list, a list of a country should be pop-ups, and the user can select one of these countries. So as you can see, inside another div I have created a select element, and here I have some countries option for the user. He or she can select one of these. Here what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another div element, div raw, and div column 25. And let me scroll down this, and let's create another label. So this label is for subject. So here I'm going to create a text area, subject, so that user can add more than one line text. Another column, and here I'm going to create the text area. Here we go, elements. So the name, first I'm going to add the ID for it. The ID is subject, name is subject as well. So this row
these are 8 row and 80 columns of size we are going to add for our text area. So after the closing text area, what we are going to do, so after the closing text area, we are going to break a line here, and here I'm going to create another div, which one will be raw, and I'm going to add an input. So this one will be input. So I'm going to add the submit, remove the name, don't need this, and let's add the value submit. Alright, so before jumping over to the CSS section, let me first check how it looks. So as you can see, this is the simple HTML form that we have created right now, and this one, as you can see, is the combo box or the select section of the HTML code, and these are the options that I have added into this combo box. And this is the text area, which has 8 rows and 18 columns, 80 columns, and this is the submit button. So now let's jump over to the CSS section, and here we are going to add some style into our form. First, I'm going to add a box size, will be border box, and after this I'm going to select the input, and here I'm going to only target the text area equal text and comma, let's select the element as well, and text area. So as you can see, this is the input section. Let me show you this at the beginning. This input, here we go, and the type text, this explains that only select this input section, and let's show you the select, and this is the select element, and this is this text area. Here we go. So now let's add the width will be 100%, padding will be 12 pixel, border 1px, solid this color, and resize vertical. And now let's select the label, and padding will be 12 pixel by 12 pixel, 12 and 0, and let's add display inline block. Alright, so now let's check the input as well. So input, here I am again selecting only the type of the submit, so that I say that only select the submit section of the input. So background color is going to be the background color should be 2. This one is the background color of that submit button, so color will be white, padding 12 px by 20 px, and let's add border. Let's remove the border, and here let's add the border radius. Border radius will be 4 pixel, and cursor should be pointer, and float right. And let's add the width as well. So the width will be 100%. And let's remove this float right. Alright, so that's it. Now we are going to target only the submit button when we hover the cursor. So input, type, submit, and let's hover. So when we hover the cursor, the background color should change to this color. Alright, so now let's target the container, and let's add border radius 5px, and background color should be this color, and padding will be 20px. After that, let's target the column -25 class. Let's add a float left, and width will be 25%, excuse me, not pixel, percent, and margin top will be 6px or pixel. Now let's target the column 75, float left, width 75%, and margin top will be 6 pixel. Let me scroll down this, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to clear the floats after the column. So let's select raw, and let's select after. Content will be empty, and display table clear both. So it will clear after this 75, or excuse me, after the float section. And so now let's save this, and let's check how it looks. So when we refresh the page, as you can see, this is the design for now. When we hover the cursor, so we need to add some more things. So now I'm going to add the media query to change this into a responsive, so that it will be fit on the any type of a window that you use. So for this, I'm going to use the add, or we can say media screen, and I'm going to use the max width 600 pixels. So this means that when the windows or the screen is smaller than 600 pixel, column 25, column 75, and input should be type, submit. Your width should be 100%, and margin top should be 0. And let's save this. So now let me change the over. There you go.
Let me use this color here, and now let's save this and let's refresh the page. So when I over the cursor, as you can see, and when I change the window to the small size, here we go, here it is. You can see the text and the form is resizing itself to adjust to the window. So that's it. Let me change this into 70. Alright, so that's it. Change the window into a small screen device, as you can see. So this is the uses of the media query, and when here you can select any of these country you prefer. So that's it. Hope you understand, and hope you learned something from this video. So the next topic that we are going to learn is the counter in CSS. So counter is used for adding numbers to the section of your web page. For adding numbers, we already have another method, which is the order list, but it's not necessary. By using the order list, we cannot add any style to that list, because when we add some changes, add any style to the order list, and our UL element will automatically take that style. So that's why it's not necessary to use the order list for adding section to the web page. For this, we need to use the counter section in using CSS. So the counter also have three main points, which is counter reset, counter function, and counter increment. So counter is like a variable. So when we want to create a variable, first we need to mention the name for our variable. So for this, inside the body element, I'm going to mention create the name for my counter variable. So for this, for creating the variable name, we need to use the counter reset attribute. So counter, here we go, here it is, counter reset, and here we need to mention the name for our variable. So I'm going to use my counter, and make sure do not add any space between these letters, and after that you can mention the number where you want to start, the counter should start from. I'm going to mention the 0 because that it will print next number of 0, which is 1. So the next of a 0 is 1, and that's it inside the body. And here I'm going to mention the h1 element. So I'm going to target the h1 element. So h1, and I'm going to use before. So before text of the h1 element, here you need to display the counter. So the counter is going to display inside the content. So first, inside double quotation, I'm going to name my counter, my section. So I'm going to name this chapter, and let's add some space. And here I'm going to add counter, and let's add opening and closing brackets. And here I'm going to, I want to display the counter so it will ask me which counter you want to display. So I'm going to mention this counter, the variable that I have created, my counter. So I want to display this counter, and here I want to add this column between the text and the counter, and that's it. And after, so when I save this, here you can see this is a chapter. You can see live demo of this counter chapter 0, because I didn't add any increment attribute, so that's why it's showing me the 0. And now I'm going to increment this. So let's use the increment, counter increment by 1. So I'm going to tell the browser that increment the counter just 1 by 1, or one number. So I'm going to save this, or let's cut this from here and let's add it here at the top section. And when we save this, oh excuse me, I didn't mention the name. So it's going to ask me which counter you want to increment by 1. So I'm going to add the counter name. So my counter. Let's save this, and here we go. Here you can see. So the first number is 1, 2. It starts from 1, and 2, 3, 4, and 5. So when I add another number inside instead of 0, so when I add 5, so it will start from the next number of 5, which is 6. So when I save this, here you can see it starts from 6. When I add 15, so it will start from the next number of 15, which is 16. So when I save this, here we go, chapter 16. And also you can add increment by 1. Here you can see it will tell the browser that how much number you need to increment by. So first let's save this. As you can see, it's 1, 2, 3. So if I increment this by 5 numbers, so when I save this, as you can see, it increments 5 numbers. So 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. So when I tell that increment by 3 numbers, so it will increment 3 digits. So 3 numbers, 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. And you can not only use the numbers, you can use the Roman numbers or alphabetical letters you prefer. So inside, when you want to display the counter, and the counter inside the name of your counter, add a column, and here you can add the upper dash alpha. It will display the, as you can see, upper alphabetical letters here. So if you say lower and save this, lower alphabetical letters, and if you tell that Roman, let's save this. Here you can see lower Roman letters, and also you can add the upper for this as well. Here we go. You can also add the numbers to the section of the chapters, which is called the nested counter. So for this, we are going to just comment this for now. Let's comment this, and let's remove this from comment. Here we go. So now let's save this, and this is, as you can see, these are the section of the chapters. As you can see, the first, second, third. So we are going to, so now we are going to add the changes inside this. So here we go. I have added some changes into this sections. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add counter into these parts of the chapters as well. So that one will be the 1 of 1 or 1 of 2 or 1 of 3, like this. So for this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a counter, or I'm going to use the counter for a new counter, which will be the sub counter, by using the counter reset attribute inside the h1 element. So here I'm going to use counter. This counter will be sub counter. So I'm not going to mention any number because the default number is 1, so it will start automatically from 1. And after this, I'm going to create at the right bottom side. Here I'm going to use the h2 before. Here we go. And here what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the content, and here I'm going to, or let's add dot, and after this I'm going to mention the first counter. So this one will be the my counter, and we can add this from here. Let's remove this from here, this section, and after this you can mention the sub counter here, here we go. And now let's increment the counter. Which counter? So now let's increment the sub counter. So sub counter, which will increment by one number. And let's save this, and here we go. As you can see, the chapter 1 part 1, chapter 2 part 2, chapter 3 part 3, and chapter 2 part 1. It will automatically restart the number when it sub counter reach to the heading 1, automatically reset this sub count. So it will automatically reset the from 3 and start it from the beginning of the counter. So that's it. Hope you understand. So the next, I'm going to talk about the website layout in CSS. Alright, so the common website layout has 5 steps. So the first one is header. The header is the logo section of your web page. The second one is the navigation bar, where the visitor can visit throughout your website, or they can check your website. The third section is the content, where your main content is located according to the targeted visitors. And the fourth section is the side content, where you can add some information about yourself, like about me, or you can add your popular content or popular posts. And the last one is the footer, where you can add that our copyright, from which owner or which website it belongs. So this is the most common layout for your website. So now we are going to work on this with a step-by-step guide using source code. So let's get started. So this is the HTML page, and this is the empty style sheet, and I'm going to create this from scratch. So for this, I've already added the Font Awesome, the third-party link here, scripted link here. So that is because I want to use some icons from Font Awesome. If you don't know what's this, so let me check out to show you this. So this is the Font Awesome website, where you can find the icons. So you first need to register your account. First you need to create your account, and after that they will give you a visited link or your kit link. So you can get that kit link and just paste it right here, and after that you can easily use the icons. So let me search for you. So if you need to find like icon of Facebook, so you can easily search for this, and you can get the link and use it in your web page. So I'm going to search for Facebook. As you can see, these are the icons. So you can only just click on this your selected icons and click on this link, and you can easily paste in your wherever you want in your website. You can place it right over there. So because first, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a div element, and I'm going to, instead of class, I'm going to create an ID, and this one will be the header section. And after the header, I'm going to create a h1 element, so that one will be coding my website name. After this, I'm going to create a div element and class this and name this social media or social icons. And now I'm going to paste that links right here, and I'm going to add the Facebook, then I'm going to search for Twitter. Here we go. You can just easily copy this from here and paste it here. And after this, I'm going to search for, you can search for everything you want. So I'm going to search for TikTok. Here we go. Let's copy this, paste it here, and the last one will be the YouTube. Here it is. Let's copy this again and paste it right here. So that's it. Now so here you can see the live demo of my web page. So this is the title of the web page and these are the icons. So before jumping over to the next section, first let's add some style into this. For this I'm going to jump over to the CSS and I'm going to target the body element. So I'm going to add margin 0 and padding 0. So this will remove all default margin and padding. After that I'm going to target the header element, and here I'm going to add the background color, which will be light gray, and after this I'm going to add the width, which is 100%, and let's add margin. First let's save this and let's check how it looks. So here we go, here it is. And now let's add margin top minus 20 pixels, and that's it. Let's add this minus 21. Yeah, it's good enough. So now after this I'm going to target the header, and inside the header I have h1 element. I'm going to target the h1. So the color is going to be black, which is by default it is. And after that I'm going to add the font family. So I'm going to select this font family, and after this I'm going to select the font size, which will be 24 pixel, and the font width will be 20%, and let's add display this block, and padding should be 0 by 30 pixel. And the last line height is going to be 60. Let's save this. So here we go, here it is. Simple title, as you can see. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to target this social media icons so that it will place right next to the h1 element. So for this I'm going to target the social media class or social icons. Social icons, and here we have display graph template will be columns, and let's make this repeat 4 by 50 pixels. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to and let's make this float right, and margin top will be minus 50 pixels. Let's save this, and here we go, here it is. It's right next to the title of my web page, as you can see. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to work on a navigation bar, and inside the navigation bar section I'm going to add the search bar as well. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a div inside the h1 element. After this headers div, I'm going to create another div, and this class name will be navbar or navigation bar. Responsive navigation bar. So I'm going to create nav ul and li, and inside li I'm going to create a element, and here I'm going to add home, and let's copy this Yes. So the first one is home, the second one is services, projects, about, and content. Excuse me, contact. So inside this, so now I'm going to add create a form here. So the form is going to be, form class name will be search bar, and let's remove this action and method attribute to a rule, and this the rule will be search. And inside this form attribute element, I'm going to create another div element and name this form group, and let's add input. So the input will be text and the class name will be is going to be form control. And that's it. Now I'm going to create a button, a search button, so that it will search for submit, or you can use, let's remove the name and let's add the class name. So that one will be ptn by ptn dash default, and let's name it search. So that's it. As you can see, when I save this, it will display right here. These are the navigation, this is the navigation bar, and this is the field, input field, and this is the search button right here. So now let's jump over to the CSS and let's add the style section here. I'm going to target the navigation bar. So let's target the responsive. Alright, so now let's add width 100%, and let's add the background. So the background color will be black, this type color, and let's add margin. And first let's save this, and you can see there is a gap between header and a responsive a header and the navigation bar. So I'm going to, let's add the margin top minus 70 pixel. Let's save this. Here we go, gap is removed. So now after this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to target the responsive dash nav. Inside the navigation bar, I have navigation bar UL and LI. So I'm going to target the LI. So display inline block, so that it will display display side by side. And let's add a padding. The padding will be 20 pixel, and let's add a font size will be 20 pixel as well, and let's add font family. Font family will be this font. Now when you save this, as you can see, it is placed side by side. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the color and change this underline. And for this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to again target this. I'm going to, instead of writing this, I'm going to copy this and let's paste it here. and let's target the A. And here I'm going to add the color, this color, and let's remove the text decoration, none. So this text decoration will remove this underline, and this color will change the color of the text. So when I save this, as you can see, the underline is removed and the color is changed as well. And after that, when I hover the cursor, as you can see, nothing happened. So I'm going to tell that when I hover the cursor, the background color should be changed. So for this, I'm going to use the hover a Pseudo class. So hover, and here I'm going to tell that background color should be this color, and the padding should be 20 pixel, and the cursor should be pointer. Now when I save this, so when I hover the cursor, as you can see, the background color is changed and the cursor is pointer. So we need to remove this from here as well, so that it will place in the right, this side, this place at the right side of the our navigation bar or menus. Now so now we are going to target the search bar. So this one will be float right, and let's save this. As you can see, it's right here, but we want to place this inside the navigation bar section, inside this black background. So we need to add a margin top minus 67 pixel, and margin right will be 100 pixel. So let's save this. As you can see, it's right this side. And after this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to target the input section. Search bar, inside the search bar I have input element. I'm going to add the width for this, so that width will be 220 pixel, and the padding will be 10 pixel. Let's save this. As you can see, it's a little bit bigger than before one. And now let's target this button. So now we are going to target this from by selecting the search bar, and inside search bar we have a button. So I'm going to target that one. So width will be 80 pixel, padding is 10px, float this to right side, and margin, let's add a margin so that it will place right at the right side of this field. Margin top will be minus 90 pixel, and excuse me, it's margin right. So margin top is 13.9 pixel, and margin right is minus 90 px, and let's add border radius so that it will add some, remove this corners from here, and border radius will be 5px, and the background color should be the color of that, this color. So when I save this, as you can see, it is placed right here. And now let me change the color of the text as well. Here we go, and let's make this little bit bolder. So that one, font family, font width, excuse me, will be bold. When I save this, here we go, here it is. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the over effects for this as well. So search bar, and let's select the Pseudo class, which is over, and let's add the cursor pointer here. Save this. So now when I over the cursor, as you can see, the cursor is changed to the pointer, and here you can see these are the backgrounds. So our navigation bar is done as well. And now what I'm going to do, we need to work on the second part of the third part of our web page, which is the content section. Now let's jump over to the CSS part, excuse me, the HTML section. And now I'm going to create a div by the name of raw, and here I'm going to create another div by the name of left column, and inside this I'm going to create another div which will be the car, and let's add the heading too. It will be title heading. You can use the uppercase as well, so I'm going to use the lowercase, and let's use the heading 5. So this one will be title description of the December. So it's today's date is December 31 of 22. Alright, so that's it. And here you can also add the image for your section. So I'm going to add a div, and let's add like a fake image img. I'm not going to add any image right here, so I'm going to add the style for this as well as the same inside this element. So style will be, so the height is going to be 200 pixels, and the text is going to be image. So that's it. And after this, here I'm going to create a p element. So that the p element is for a simple text, and also I'm going to add another text that I already have here. Here it is. I'm going to copy this from here, and let's add this right here. Here we go. So that's it. Now let's save this and let's check how it looks. So here it is. You can see right here, this is the image section, this is the title of your post, and here you can see these are the information that according to your post. So we need to add some style into this as well. So before adding the style, I'm going to add 2 or 3 other sections as well, and here I'm going to add another section inside the row and left column, and outside the card section. Here I'm going to create another div which is card, and here I'm going to add h2, and this one will be title heading, and here I'm going to add h5. So this one will be title description of December 31 222. This is the same thing that I'm going to add, and let's paste it right here, and that's it. Now when I save this, this is the second section of our web page, second post of our web page, or second column of our web page. Alright, so that's it. So now we are going to add some style into this. So let's jump over to the style sheet, and here I'm going to target the left column, and let's add float this to left, and let's add width 65%, and after this I'm going to target the fake image, and let's add a background color. Let's add this color to the background, and let's add width will be 100%, and the padding should be 20 pixels. That's it. Now let's save this. As you can see, here it is. This is the image section. Now we are going to work on the card as well. Card, and inside the card I'm going to add the background color. The background color will be white color, and let's add a padding 20 pixel, and margin top will be 20 pixel. Save this. Here we go. Here it is. Now let's target the row and use the Pseudo after, so it will Pseudo class after, and let's remove so that it will clear the floats after the column. The content, let's remove this. The content will empty and display this table, and clear both. Here we go. And after this, what I'm going to do, so first let me check this. So as you can see, our both section is completely done, and I think this section I didn't add the image section right here for the second one. So you can just copy paste this from here. You can also add this into your section post as well, if your second post had the image. Just add it right here. Here we go. Let's save this, and that's it. As you can see, really simple. So now we are going to add the fourth part of our web page, which is the site content, where you can add like some information about yourself, or you can show your popular posts for your visitors. So I'm going to add this as well, and now, so that's it for this section. Now let's do that one as well. Right, so now let's check. So outside, so here I'm going to create another div, which will be the right column, and here I'm going to create a card as well, and let's create h2 element. It will be about me. Let's add the fake, so I'm going to copy paste this. Here it is, and the height will be 100 pixel. The fake image is done. Now let's copy this from here. Here we go. Here it is. Simple text for saving time, and paste it here. And that's it. So after this, let me save this here and let's check. So as you can see, it is right. I'm going to add some changes for this. First, we do the other section, other parts of the right corner, then we will jump over to the CSS. So for this, outside the card section, I'm going to create another div, another card, and here I'm going to add h3. So this one will be popular posts, and inside this I'm going to create div elements. So this one will be image, and I'm going to copy this and paste it 2 more times. Here we go. And let's add p element as well here. That's it. Now let's add the last one. Let's create another card, and h3 element. So this one will be follow me section, where the visitors can follow you through the Twitter, Facebook page, or your YouTube channel if you have. And here you can add that. I'm going to use this for now, and let's save this. So when we check, as you can see, these are the sections that we have added right now. So what I'm going to do now, let's jump over to the CSS and let's add some style into it, so that it will place at the right corner of our web page. So for this, I'm going to target the right column, and float right, width will be 25%, background color will be this color, and let's add padding left. Padding left will be 25 pixel. Let's save this. So as you can see, it works. And this is the about section. You can add your image or your information here. These here will be shown your popular posts that you have posted in your web page or your website, excuse me. And here you can connect your Facebook page or Twitter link, whatever you prefer. So the last section is the footer section. Now let's add the footer section as well. So inside the HTML, I'm going to create another div. Its name will be footer section, and here I'm going to create a div which will be container, and here I'm going to copy this from here and copy, and let's paste it here, and here we go. That's it. This is everything we need for our footer section. And when I save this, and here you can see this is the footer section. Really simple for now. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add the style for this. So now first I'm going to target the footer dash section. I'm going to add width, which will be 100%. Background color going to be black. So when I save this, and here you can see there is a gap between at the margin bottom, minus 20 pixel, and the height is going to be 70 pixel. Now let's save this, and here we go. This is the footer, and this is the other text, which is black. So now I'm going to change that as well. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to target this footer section. Inside the footer section, I have another class, which is container, and we have a P. I'm going to change the color of that paragraph and the text, align this to center. Now let's save this. Here it is. It is aligns at center. And now I'm going to change the color of these links as well. So after this, I'm going to target that as well, and container A, and let's add the color. So the color will be light gray. Now let's save this. Here we go. Here it is. So our footer section is created as well. So now the last section is that we need to change this into the responsive web page. So when I resize the browser, as you can see, it is really, so we need to change this into responsive so that it will work in all devices, all type of devices. So for this, I'm going to jump over to the style sheet as well, and here I'm going to use the media query. So media query, and let's select the screen so that it will sit for all type of screen, and here I'm going to use the max width so that it will work under if the web page, if the window or the screen is smaller than 860. So it will first add some changes into nav bar or navigation. So the width should be 100%. So the float will be none. It will locate at the center. Font size will be 80 pixel, and let's text align center. Save this, and now let's change the screen. As you can see, here we go. When I over this, and now we need to add some changes into this search bar. And now let me copy this from here and paste it and let's use the hover effect. Let's add the hover effect for this as well. So the background color should be this color, and the width should be 100%, and the margin left should be -40 pixels. Now let's save this, and when we hover the cursor, as you can see, it is properly, the background is changed, covered complete. And now we need to place this at the right top and outside from this navigation bar, at the right bottom side. And here we're going to select the search bar and input. The margin top is going to be 90 pixel, and border 2px solid, this color, so that it will be displayed right here. As you can see, here it is. And I'm going to target the button as well. So I'm going to change its background, excuse me, so I'm going to change its border for 2px solid, the same background color. And after that, I'm going to select, I'm going to add another media query here, and let's media query screen and max width. So when the window is 800 pixel, it will select the left column and also select the right column and change the width of these to 100% and add padding to 0. Save this, as you can see, and here you can see, let me change this into a small screen. And as you can see right here, when the right column is jumped to the bottom of the web page, here you can see. So now our web page is completely responsive. It will work in all devices right here. As you can see, it adjusts the size, it adjusts itself to the size of a window. Here you can see, when I resize the web page, it is looks completely responsive. So that's it. This is everything we need to learn about website layout. This is the common website layout that we have learned in this video. So don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon. If you learned something from this video, please leave the comment below. So the last and final topic that we are going to learn in this course is important in CSS. So first, we need to learn the priority level of a CSS and see how it works. So the first, we can select by specifying the element name like h1, and inside the parentheses we can specify the type of color or style we want to add to our element. And the second one, we can use the class name. The third one, we can use the ID. And the fourth, we can use the inline CSS style, as you can see on the screen. But the priority comes to the last one first. So as you can see, the most priority comes for inline CSS, the second for ID, the third for class, and the last one is going to be given for element if you specify the element's name in CSS. And now let's jump over to the code. So here I have a title, which is Coding with Rohani, the title of my web page. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the style by using four first I'm going to use by using h1 element, the second the class name, the id name, and after that I'm going to use the inline css for this. So first I'm going to use that, and let me add h1, and here I'm going to specify the color, and I'm going to add red. Let's save this, and now let's check. And as you can see, it takes the red color. And now I'm going to specify the class name, which is title. Let me copy this, and here I'm going to use the class name, and let's add the color blue. Now let's save this, and let's refresh. And as you can see, the element priority is less than class priority. So if I use the id, color green, and now let's refresh this. As you can see, and the id priority is more than class, so that's why it ignores the class and element, it specifies the id. And now let's jump over to the inline css. So if we add inline css, so style, and here we're going to specify the color black. Let's save this, and now let's refresh the page. As you can see, so the inline css priority is more than class, element, and id. So if you want to give the important, whether it's element, class, or id, you can easily specify them by using the importance. So for adding important, you can just add the exclamation mark and write the important right here, and add semicolon at the end. Now let's save this, and it will take the blue color. As you can see, you can add some importance to the element. If you want to add any style to the element, by using the important property, you can bring the priority of a level at the top of any other elements, and the important will help you if you don't want to add any changes at that element. So that's it. Hope you understand. Make sure to subscribe this channel and hit the bell icon so you'll get the notification of my new video when I upload it.